Hello, welcome to Odds on Bundesliga, Matchday 18, a very good one because we have Leipzig and Leverkusen, and indeed, Ronan, you were totally right about the tricky game Leverkusen had against Augsburg, but they keep the good track also in 2024.
Yeah, they started the year with a win, but it was a late kind of panicky win for Leverkusen. It's not what we've been used to seeing in Leverkusen in the first half of the season, but they were able to get a win and stay on top of the table, and long may that continue for Leverkusen and their fans.
These are the kind of victories also that give you titles, the ones suffering in the very last minute. You cannot always win comfortably and enjoying well. And also Dortmund won, as you expected, in Darmstadt. So a good weekend overall also with your 𝐿𝐴CCA, by the way. So again, a good start of 2024. Let's go on now with the show. Remember to click, of course, in the notifications bell to subscribe to our channel. And now let's go on with the show. Well, Ronan, this new match day starts on Friday, as usual, with Mainz Union Berlin, an important game for the relegation battle because we have Mainz in the play-out spots with 11 points, Union Berlin with 3 points more. Was a positive start of the season, I would say, for Union Berlin because they are very poor away from home this season, and a draw in Freiburg is always good, whereas Mainz, another draw against Wolfsburg. We are seeing a lot of under 2.5 goals lately in Mainz games. Actually, last 8 were under, so perhaps this is not a very entertaining game to watch.
No, it doesn't look like it. And like you said, both of these teams played out draws last weekend, and I think both of them will probably be happy enough with the draws that they got because they weren't thrilling games. Union Berlin were lucky to get a draw in their game. They failed to score. They got 0.42 xG, and Freiburg, who were playing, got 2.17. So they were kind of lucky to come out with that one with a win. And I think the only real positive from that game was new signing 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐻. He kind of looked strong in defence, and that should bring us back maybe to the Union Berlin that we're used to seeing of being good at the back. But being good at the back also means that you're not going to concede lots of goals and you're not going to play out entertaining games. And this one does not look like an entertaining game because Mainz, they were able to get a draw obviously as well, but I think they didn't create as many chances as they would have liked. Marco Richter wasn't started, so I think we might see him in this game because he provides maybe a little spark up front, and that should get them create a few chances, or maybe he could get on the score sheet. The most common result here is a 1-0 to Mainz, and last season Union Berlin failed to score at Mainz as well. So this one looks like it could be a 1-0. I think the correct score 1-0 is 7. Total goals under, like you said, is definitely a one to look into, given both these teams are poor in front of goal. Total goals under 2.25 is 1.98. So that looks attractive enough. But for this one, I think Mainz just have enough about them to win. So my tip for this one is going to be Mainz to win.
Okay, only 4 points away from home. Union Berlin, the draw is also worth taking a look. I think it's 3.5. Next game is Cologne Dortmund. As I said, you were very confident in our previous video about Dortmund playing better and getting the victory away from home, and they did it. It was a comfortable victory in Darmstadt. Now they close the gap with Leipzig, only 3 points away. Cologne, they are penultimate in the standings, so it's these kind of games that Dortmund needs to go to Cologne pitch and win it.
Yeah, it is. If they want to kind of lay down a marker and prove that this Dortmund that we're seeing in 2024 is different from the Dortmund that we saw in 2023, they will need to win this game and probably win this game comfortably. They should be expected. Obviously, it's a local rivalry game, so it adds a bit of extra spice to the kind of proceedings, and Cologne fans will definitely be up for it. The Cologne players hopefully will be up for it to make it an interesting one for the spectator. But I think this Dortmund team, they are beginning to look better. They've hopefully turned the corner, and with Sancho coming off the bench, he was obviously very impressive in that cameo. My United fans were watching on and wondering where was this Jadon Sancho in the first half of the year, but hopefully he can get back to his best, find his fitness, and maybe play a bit more in this match and build himself up so he can be starting games in the future. But I also like the look of Ian Maatsen, who's after coming in from Chelsea on loan for Dortmund. He made a huge difference to their back line. I think he'll be a great player for them for the rest of the season. They're not going to buy him in the summer, but he will be a great addition to help them get to top four, perhaps. And he could be a huge difference maker, as well as getting that kind of attacking impetus from Sancho. So those two signings should make Dortmund a better team, as well as the coaching additions that we mentioned last week. So I would be confident of Dortmund getting one here. The history is obviously on their side. They won the match at the start of the season, the reverse tie. They won 1-0 in Dortmund. Dortmund to win this 1-0 is 3.5. I think that looks good enough. Even Dortmund to win this match, the odds look good for that. But I think Dortmund will score in the first half, take the lead, and go out and win the game. So my tip here is away.
Okay, still very confident on the Dortmund. Next game is Freiburg, Hoffenheim, two teams that are close to the European spots in the 7th and in the 8th spot, but both couldn't win in the first game in 2024. Freiburg with the draw against Union Berlin. They've only lost one home game throughout the season, and apart from that defeat against Heidenheim before the break, we are not seeing a lot of goals lately, as it happened also last season. For Freiburg, Hoffenheim is only one win in the last 8. I guess we shouldn't take in consideration, of course, lose to Bayern Munich.
No, you shouldn't. I thought they might score, and they did have chances. They created 1.62 XG in that game, so they did have chances to get on the score sheet. But I think they were kind of killed off a bit by the second half. Red card for Prommel. Any chance they had of maybe staging a comeback was over as soon as that happened. Not that they were in the driving seat to begin with, but you would always like to maybe get on the score sheet against Bayern, or put in a kind of a solid performance to at least have your head held high coming out of Bayern, that you didn't embarrass themselves. But I suppose they'll be looking to regroup in this one to play against a Freiburg team that, like you said, they're not going to score lots of goals themselves. I don't think this is going to be a high scoring one. Freiburg, the Christian Streich after the game, he became one of few German coaches to get 500 points with a single club, but he came out and he was very annoyed. He said it should have been 502, that they should have won the match. Vincenzo Grifo came out and said they should have won 2 or 3-0. So they will be looking kind of for revenge here, but it's going to be hard against Hoffenheim and hard for a Freiburg team who don't score a lot of goals. This one, for me, it has draw written all over. The most common result is 1-1. The most common result in Freiburg is 1-1 as well. 5 of the last 15 games between the two of them have been draws, and 11 of the last 31. So it looks like draws written all over this one. Correct score 1-1 is 7.5, but I think that the odds on a draw itself are just tasty enough to go with that.
Well, I could see another draw in the next game, Heidenheim-Wolfsburg, because this newly promoted team still gets really positive results. It's one draw against Cologne, plus 3 victories before the break, so 10 points out of the last 12. And Wolfsburg, another draw against Mainz, a team that they've disappointed us this season. In 11 out of the 17 games played by Wolfsburg ended in both teams to score, so perhaps this could be easily another 1-1 result.
Yeah, it could be both teams to score. Yes, 1.65 here looks good, all right. But yeah, I like the look of Heidenheim actually in this one, because I thought Frank Schmidt, he coached well against Cologne. They were behind, but he changed tactics, he changed the approach. He saw what wasn't working, and he was able to change it and adapt from the 4-2-3-1 to a 4-1-3-2, and that made all the difference in the second half. And they were able to take something from it. And I think he's a good coach, and he's kind of proven his Bundesliga credentials, that this isn't a team that just rolls over after being promoted. This is a team who's prepared to fight everyone. So I think they will be looking to do something here against Wolfsburg. Earlier in the season, it was 2-0 to Wolfsburg, but I think it's going to be a different result here. like you said, it could 1-1 could be another option here, because the average goal scored between the two of them is 1.5 for Heidenheim, 1.2 for Wolfsburg. Average goals conceded similarly, 1.9 for Heidenheim and 1.6 for Wolfsburg. So both teams to score, yes, does look like a good option in this one, but I think I fancy Heidenheim too much to turn down the option of Heidenheim Asian handicap 0 just over 2.
Okay, also Heidenheim, they have a good record with both teams to score, exactly the same as Wolfsburg. 75% of their games ended in both teams to score this season. And at the same time, we have Darmstadt, Frankfurt. One of the odds that I really like in this show is Frankfurt to win 2.05, because they won against Leipzig, one of the most difficult pitch in Germany, and Darmstadt, they are still hopeful to keep the category. Ronan, because they are not far actually from the play out, but they keep losing games and there is no reaction.
Yeah, they look like a team that kind of is struggling to find themselves in the Bundesliga. Unlike Heidenheim, who we just mentioned, I think Darmstadt they're finding it difficult, and they will find it difficult between now and the end of the season. And it would be kind of surprising if they stayed out of the bottom three rather than were in it. I think a lot of people will be expecting them to maybe be in one of those automatic relegation places, and I think that definitely could happen myself. I don't think they look like they've come out this year as any different, as a better team. They only had one shot on target, and that 3-0 defeat to Dortmund, and they didn't really look like they were going to do much else. And Frankfurt, on the other hand, they scored early, and they were able to hold out RB Leipzig, and they came away with a very kind of positive result for them. It was a real kind of smash and grab result, and they should be delighted to take that, and it should give them a lot of confidence going into this one. They've won 4 of the last 6 meetings between the two sides, and they actually played twice last season, or last year. They played twice in 2023 because they met in the cup, and Frankfurt won 4-2 in that one, and it was 1-0 at the start of the season in Frankfurt. So I think Frankfurt, they're a much better team now. They've found themselves a bit better. They're starting to find consistency maybe they didn't have early in the season, so they look better here. Those odds, like you said, for Frankfurt to win look good. Away is another option. Obviously that's 3.3. I think that could be a good one there, but yeah, the odds on Frankfurt to win looks like a very tasty option this week, I think.
I really like them. And we have the same odds for Stuttgart to win away against Bochum, but I could see a trap here with Stuttgart, of course, still in the top 4, but without Guirassy, perhaps there is no party on with Stuttgart. They lost to Gladbach. Is 3 defeats in the last 4 away games, and Bochum, even if they are in the lower spots of the standings, Ronan, is not an easy team to beat at home. It's only 1 defeat for them at home and so many draws. So this could be easily, again, another draw.
Yeah, it could be a trap game, all right. But I think Stuttgart will fancy themselves to do a bit more and not have the same kind of early blow they suffered last week, because that was such an early goal. It kind of ripped up any ideas the team would have had to go into the game and get something from Gladbach, whereas I think Bochum definitely aren't going to score in the first minute or anything here. So it doesn't seem like these teams or Bochum are on the same kind of level as a Gladbach, and they won't cause the same sort of problems for Stuttgart. And if you remember earlier this season, it was Stuttgart kind of announcement game. They won 5-0 with 2 from Guirassy, 2 from Siles against Bochum. So they're obviously missing both those players, but Wagnerman looked good kind of stepping into the Siles role last week. And in that game, he got on the score sheet. And Dennis Undav, we saw what he could do when Guirassy was injured earlier in the season. So they should be able to get goals from him. So I would be confident in Stuttgart getting something from this game. They've won both games last season, 3-2 and 4-1. So there seems to be 5 goals in this game every time they meet. The last 3 meetings have all had 5 goals. So total goals over 3.5 here is 2.7. If you think it could happen again, Lightning could strike a 4th time. But I think, like you said, I like the odds that you said at the start for Stuttgart to win. So that's going to be my tip here.
Another away victory, in your opinion, and the last game on Saturday is the best game. This match day is Leipzig, Leverkusen, and I'm also surprised to see, to be honest, Leipzig a favorite for this game, even if the odds, as we can see in the screen, are very balanced. But we have to take in consideration that still Leverkusen, they have 0 defeats. Leipzig lost their first game at home of the season. How do you see this clash? Very, very interesting game.
Yeah, I was surprised to myself when I saw the odds. They seem to be in Leipzig's favour, and you're kind of surprised by that when they're playing the league leaders. But I suppose if a team's not called Bayern Munich, they probably get different odds. If it had been Bayern Munich at the top against Leipzig instead of Bayer Leverkusen, maybe the odds would have been very different. But yeah, I think we have to start treating this Bayer Leverkusen team differently than in the past. I think that they look a different team, and like you said earlier in the program, they need that kind of late goal. That's what makes title winners. And instead of Fergie time, we had Xabi time in that one, and that's taken them to 45 points so far for the season. And the 45 points at the halfway stage is the third best in history in the Bundesliga. Only twice was it better, 46 in 15-16 and 47 in 13-14, and both those were Bayern Munich under Pep Guardiola. So this is kind of esteemed company that 𝐜𝐵 Alonso is keeping. So I like the fact that he didn't risk Jonathan Tah in the game last week. He used Stanisic and Andrić in centre back, and Tah was given a rest because he's one yellow card away from a suspension, and then he would have missed this game because of it. So 𝐜𝐵 was obviously, he was confident in his defenders and his makeshift defenders with 𝐿𝐭𝐤𝐿 and 𝐜𝐵 at AFCON, them making the difference, and they were able to keep clean sheet, and that should kind of give them confidence that even without 2 other big defenders over the next few weeks, they still are good at the back and they still can be that creative attacking force like we've seen. So this should be an interesting game. Like you said, it should be definitely one for the neutrals to tune into. Both games last season were 2-0 home wins, but I don't think this is going to happen. I think Leverkusen should be able to do enough to keep that undefeated win going. So I'm going to tip Leverkusen Asian handicap 0, just over 2 in this one.
Okay, full trust on Leverkusen, of course, until they prove us wrong. We should go with Leverkusen, especially with these odds. The double chance for Leverkusen is 1.6. Not bad without Boniface, but still doing great things. This Xabi Alonso's Leverkusen, as I said in the previous video, is a very tough start of the year for Leverkusen. The first tough game was a victory in the last minute against Augsburg. Let's see the second away consecutive game against Leipzig. And on Sunday we have 2 games. First one is Bayern Munich, Werder Bremen. They have 3 consecutive games at home. Bayern Munich, the first one was an easy victory against Hoffenheim. They play the following week on Wednesday against Union Berlin because it was a postponed game. So, Ronan, this is a lot of ifs, but if Leverkusen lose against Leipzig and then Bayern win these 2 games, Werder Bremen and Union Berlin, they can see themselves finally on top of the standings for the next weekend.
Yeah, this is a huge win for Bayern Munich, regardless of what Leverkusen do. If Leverkusen win this, they definitely need to win the 2 games. So these are two huge games for Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga title race. So they definitely need to win them both. They will be confident after that 3-0 win last week. They showed that they hadn't lost any step after the winter break. Kane was able to equal Lewandowski's record of 22 goals at the halfway point in the season. So he's headed for that Bundesliga record, or to equal it anyway. Sané is now up to 10 assists in the season. That's the most of any player in Europe's top 5 leagues, but it's also Sané's best ever season assist-wise. So if he keeps putting the ball on the plate for Kane or Musiala, as it was last week, Bayern are going to keep scoring. And this one looks like it could be another easy victory for Bayern Munich. The most common result here is 2-0 to Bayern Munich, and Bayern haven't won in Munich in 15 years. So it's a long time since Bremen have come away with 3 points here, and I don't think they're going to again this weekend. Bayern to win to 0 is 1.93, but obviously there's still worries over over the defence because Kim is such a big absence at the Asian Cup. So for that reason, I'm not going to go for Bayern to win 2-0 as the tip, although I do think it looks appetising. I'm going to go for Bayern to win both halves, 1.8. Looks good here.
Well, I was checking the head-to-head between these two teams. In the last 7 years, it's 10 wins for Bayern, only 1 draw. For Werder Bremen, earlier this season in August was a 4-0 victory in Bremen. For Bayern Munich, last season was 6-1 for Werder Bremen, but also in 2019, we saw another 6-1 for Bayern Munich. So usually they have a feast against Werder Bremen. It could be a good option. Your tip, trying the Asian handicap here, even if the odds, as always, for Bayern Munich are very low when they play at home. And the last game is Gladbach Augsburg. Also on Sunday, Gladbach beat Stuttgart. Their hopes this year or this season, I guess, is in the cup, but still they have to climb and get better and better because the start of the season was very poor. Augsburg, another mid-table team, not a really appealing game to watch. I have to say, 2 teams in the middle of the table, and especially Gladbach underperforming.
Yeah, I think we've said many times on the show that Gladbach have been underperforming and that they looked like a team that could do a lot more, and maybe they did show that in that win over Stuttgart, because Stuttgart obviously are a team higher than them in the table, and they were able to get off to such a fast start. Robin Hack's goal after 20 seconds was the quickest Bundesliga goal since 2019. So it was a great result for Gladbach, and it was great for us as well because it meant the ACCA came in last weekend. So yeah, I was delighted to see Gladbach go 2 goals up so early. It was great to see it. It gave them confidence and gave us confidence too. But yeah, Jordan came off the bench to score to make it 3-1 in stoppage time, and that kind of shows the difference they have in attack when their players are fit. When you have Alisson Playa or Jordan Siabachu, when these players like this are fit, they look a different team, and that was a problem for them earlier in the season, that they weren't able to field kind of their strongest 11 at times. So if they can keep everyone fit, they should be a different team and challenge for a European place, I think. So Gladbach, in this one, the most common result for them is a 2-0, and they've won 9 of the last 14 home games versus Augsburg. Augsburg haven't won here since 2015, so I think the odds are in Gladbach's favour. It was a 4-4 earlier this season, but I definitely don't think that's going to happen again, because that was at the very start of the season. So these are 2 different teams and different trajectories, perhaps. So both games last season were both home wins 2-0 to Gladbach and 1-0 to Augsburg. So it could be something like that here. It could be a kind of come through home win. So for that reason, I'm looking for Gladbach to win as the tip for this one.
Well, Augsburg away from home is only 1 victory, only 5 points, and Gladbach, they are 7 points away from the European spots from Eintracht Frankfurt, so perhaps they still have a chance to fight for the European spots, and is very open the possibility to do big things in the Cup this season, since they are still alive and many top teams are out of the competition of the Pokal. Ronan, safe bet for the weekend?
Safe bet is Bayern Munich home 1.4.
And the ACCA?
Yeah, I'm going for a few wins in this one because I like the odds that have been given to some teams to win this week. So Borussia Dortmund win, Stuttgart win, Eintracht Frankfurt win, and Leverkusen handicap 0.
Total is 15, I believe, for this really high ACCA. You can always make it lower and move cautious if you add, for instance, a draw, not bet to any victories. Even Gladbach to win looks very appealing, around 2.0. So very good odds for this show in the Bundesliga. Rona, see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.